Hello and welcome, everyone. Today we're talking about one of the richest and most stable countries in the world, Switzerland. Known for its high standard of living, breathtaking landscapes, and strong economy, Switzerland might seem like a paradise. But right now, it's facing a serious challenge, a steep tax increase imposed by the United States. The US has recently raised its tax rate to 39% for certain countries, and Switzerland is right at the top of that list. This is a significant figure on a global scale. While the European Union saw their tax rate lowered, Switzerland, not being an EU member, now has to face this challenge alone. Even though Switzerland is one of the wealthiest nations, its purchasing power is surprisingly lower than its per capita income. Very few countries in the world have this situation. Let's break it down. In 2025, Switzerland's GDP is expected to reach $948 billion, ranking among the world's top 20 economies. However, when we look at actual purchasing power, the value is only about $880 billion. This means that even with a high average income, about $148,906 per person, the amount people can actually buy is less, at around $107,500. Why? One big reason is that the cost of living in many countries is lower than in the United States, which is the baseline for these comparisons. In countries like Iceland and Switzerland, goods and services are simply more expensive, so people's money doesn't stretch as far. Here's an example. If Switzerland and Singapore had the same per capita income, you'd still get more for your money in Singapore. A meal in Singapore might cost $40, while in Switzerland the same meal could be $140. Even a haircut could be $20 in Singapore, but $130 in Switzerland. So while Swiss incomes are higher on paper, Swiss residents can actually buy fewer goods and services in their own country compared to people in places like Singapore. Now let's look at the impact of the US tax hike. There's a possibility that this 39% rate could be lowered in the future, because the US often uses such taxes to push countries into making trade or policy concessions, and then reduces the rate once agreements are reached. Still, the short-term impact is real. Nearly 26% of Switzerland's exports, worth about $65 billion, go directly to the United States. That's a huge share of their total trade. To put it into perspective, Switzerland's GDP is about $948 billion, and their export revenue alone is around $460 billion, nearly half the GDP. Only a few countries in the world have such a high export-to-GDP ratio. The US, by comparison, has a GDP of $30 trillion, but exports only around $3.4 trillion. This shows just how dependent Switzerland is on its exports, especially high-value goods. What does Switzerland export? Mostly luxury goods and high-tech products, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, precious metals, gemstones, advanced machinery, and of course, their world-famous watches. These goods are expensive to produce, which is why they are mainly sold to wealthy markets like the US, Germany, and China. Interestingly, until 2021, Germany was Switzerland's top export partner, but today, the US has taken the lead. So what's next? Economic analysts warn that if the US keeps this 39% tax in place for long, it could seriously harm Switzerland's economy. However, given past patterns, it's likely the tax could be reduced once certain conditions are met. Either way, Switzerland will need to navigate this challenge carefully to maintain its place as one of the world's wealthiest nations. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more valuable content like this. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.